Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to my Blender tutorial for LS models. Um, in this video, I will show you how to import the models, how to position and scale them correctly, and some tips on doing this. I'll also show how to set up material files for multiple textures and skin, and how to overall just get the model ready to be exported and converted into a LS mesh file. I will try and include timestamps for like each big segment or like some important like tip I have or something, right? And obviously, if you have questions, I made a help channel in the staff Discord under info and images. So if you need help, just at me there with like a timestamp or something or your question. And yeah. So before we actually begin working on the model, there's some stuff I want to go over. This will work on Blender 2.7 or 2.8, either one's fine. You will need basic knowledge of Blender, so like how to move things, what vertices and faces are, just overall controls and like info on like modeling, which I won't be covering too much. I'll be covering controls, but if needed, there's a little like key press thing here that shows my key presses. So yeah. So to begin off with, if you're new to Blender, whenever you create a new file or load into Blender, there's usually a cube here. In my Blender, I removed this cube from the startup file. So if you want to do that, just select the cube, press X and delete it, and then go to File, Defaults, and Save Startup File. And it's gone. So whenever you open up Blender, there's no cube here now. So I'm going to start this tutorial off by teaching you how to install a PMX importer add-on. And basically a PMX file is not supported by Blender, but most MMD games, MMD model files are PMXs, so right here. And this is what I'll be working on in this tutorial. So Blender cannot load this without the add-on. So I'll include a download link to the add-on. And basically to install it, you want to download the zip file, go to Edit, Preferences, and then click Install. And then you want to go to the zip file you just downloaded. So it is Blender, where is it? Blender MMD tool, so right here. And just install add-on. And then there should be a checkbox that you have to hit, or not, I guess. If this doesn't work for you, at me, and I'll try and go through it again. But you'll know when you have it, because when you go File, Import, there should be a PMX option here. Alright, so let's begin importing the models now. So, say you want to import the a PMX file, so an MMD file. Just use the add-on that we just installed. Mine should be in a folder here, and just import it. It might take a little while. Okay. Now, press Z and you can select a bunch of different view options. So material preview should show all the materials and textures. Now from here, we have to import an LS model to start sizing it correctly. I'll have a download link to a full naked model that I made. And basically you go file import object, and you just import the naked model. And as you can see, the PMX one is quite smaller. So what you want to do is select the PMX file in object mode, make sure it is in object mode, and then scale it up and try to match it as close as you can with the LS model. Okay. Some matching points you might want to pay attention to are shoulders and hips and feet. Knees too, but you can always change knees later. The lengths of the arms don't matter at the moment. We'll fix that later. But basically this is what you want to do. You just want to try and position it correctly, and yeah, match up with certain points. Yeah. So now you should have the model positioned all correctly. I lined it up with the shoulders so they match, and hips so they're like close enough. And this should be a good starting point to start working with the rig. So this is kind of PMX specific, but these models should usually load in with a skeleton here. You see the bones, right? If your model does not load in with bones, you may have to create your own. Just at me if you need help with it. But yeah, PMX files should have bones. So to get into editing the bones, I'm just gonna go to the right here and hide the human body right now. To get to editing the bones, you want to click the mesh and then shift click one of the bones. You can get it. Yeah, here we go. And now you can go to pose mode, and this allows you to grab a bone and start moving them. So now what you want to do is unhide the body. And when you're moving these, it's really important to pay attention to the top, because it will show you your rotation degrees. And I usually try and make it as even as possible, so I'll go for like rounded numbers, not decimals. And also when you're doing this, it's important to when you press G to move something, click like a key that correlates to an axis. So like if you want to move it on the y-axis, press Y and it'll be stuck on the y-axis. That way when you're moving it, it doesn't go in diagonals and then mess up later on, you know. So for this one, I'm going to move it on the y-axis and try and match up with the leg. So hold shift to go slow and hold control to go into 5 meter increments. And I'll go for 16 here maybe. Yeah, that should be good. And now I gotta do 16 on the other side. And now the legs are pretty close to being lined up. If you need to hide the bones, just for like visual clarity as you're doing this, to see if it's matching up right, go to the right side here and open up the amber thing, or it will be named differently for you, but for me it's amber. And you should be able to just click the eyeball here and it should hide the bones. Now obviously you can't edit the bones, but it should be a lot easier to match up with the human body. So now we can tell that we need to move the leg backwards and bend it a bit. go 5 there. There. And we don't have to worry too much about this part here, because there's a bunch of fixing we'll be doing in the future that will pull all this back manually and line it up better. So now the arms, usually it's the shoulder bone. It should be Y. And try and match this one up at the same angle. It doesn't matter too much if it's the same height, because we can always pull that down later. But you just want the arm to be at the same angle with the body. So that should be good enough. And yeah. So now that you're done editing the bones and the overall rig of the model, currently this will not be editable. So if I was to go into let's go in edit mode. When you go into edit mode, the model snaps into position again. So what we have to do is go into object mode and click the mesh that you are editing. So let's hide the human body. And you want to go to the right side here, and you want to go to modifiers, and you want to apply this modifier, which is basically just applying this skeleton and the pose you have to the model. So when you apply this, so this is an issue that some PMX files will have too, is they will have something called shape keys, and these are found in object data properties. These are basically useless, so we can just go ahead and delete them all. As you can see, it just changes like the character's face and stuff. It's nothing we need, because we will end up deleting the face anyways. So if your model had shape keys, now that we removed it, we can go and apply the skeleton. So now when we go edit mode, the model's all in place now. So the next thing we have to do is completely separate it from everything else going on. So to get rid of all this extra stuff down here, we're going to have to go into object mode, separate these by pressing right click, going to parent, clear, and keep transformation. If you don't keep transformation, the model will go like all weird. So now on the right side we have the mesh file. So now we can go ahead and delete all these up here, because these don't matter anymore because we have the mesh file. The only thing that matters is the mesh file. So when we delete these, they might go all weird. So yeah, all these might appear. If these appear, just select the top one and scroll wheel down, shift click the bottom one and delete. Same thing for this one, yeah. And delete. Delete this one too. Okay. And now these are separated, and this mesh file is on its own now. Okay, so now that all the bones and other things are out of the way, we can now work on stretching and like positioning the model even better onto the human body template that we have here. So let's actually begin by deleting the head. So let's go edit mode and just start selecting everything on the head and deleting it. Should be better to do this in face select mode up here. but just select everything you can and get rid of it. If you want to keep like the hat as a, actually yeah, let's do it. If you want to keep the hat, then just select it. So we select everything here, and then you want to go to mesh and separate by selection, and it will create a new object that is completely separate. And let's just rename this amber hat. So now we have the amber hat. We can just hide that for now. I missed something, but that's whatever. Let's go back to the image. And now we separated the hat, so now we can just delete everything else. It might be easier to do this in wireframe mode and just select everything. And then go material and start selecting all the rest. You want to make sure after you've selected and deleted everything that you make sure there's none remaining. So let's see, there's this now. And don't select anything by accident, obviously. Okay, so now there might be some lines here. Just going to vertex mode, and you should be able to select them easier. Okay, and now the hair is gone. So the next thing we can work on is the neck. Sometimes I just completely remove the neck. So if it's a neck like this that doesn't have any texture on it, usually I'll just go and remove it. And then later on I will put this neck there. And usually it works better. So since we're gonna put this neck here, let's go to, yeah, let's go sculpt mode. Sculpt mode is a really nice mode for just overall like inflating and dragging things around. So let's go to grab, and let's grab, you can use square, it's not going to show down here, but you can use square brackets to increase and decrease the brush size. Let's grab the neck and pull it out a bit. So yeah, there we go, a bit better. Yeah, so now there should be no clipping here. So before we start sculpting more though, you want to make sure all the vertices are connected. So let me see if I can give an example here. So let's maybe do, let's do the leg. So if I was to go and start inflating this leg, you're gonna see it starts breaking apart. So there are lots of breakage here. Obviously there's a big gap here now too. And even the socks are like breaking apart. So to fix this, you want to go into edit mode. And you should be able to just, let's see, I think wireframe. Should be able to select everything that you want to inflate together. So let's just select the whole leg here. do this? Yeah, okay. So let's select this whole leg, and then let's go to mesh. Where is merge by distance? And as you see, it removed a bunch of vertices because what it just did is it connected all the loose ones. So if I go to sculpting now, and I was to start inflating, as you should see, it gets a bit deformed, but there is no breakage anywhere. There's no split in the mesh. So this is a really useful tool that you might want to use, especially for PMX models, because PMXs seem to be pretty bad with all these separated vertices and stuff. So let's do the other leg now. I have to select this little loop here. Ooh, I selected the belt backs. I'm not sure if I want to select that. Okay, so let's mesh merge by distance. And now that leg should be fine too. You have to do it with arms too. Arms are really bad on this. Arms can get really broken. So now that you know about the merging and the sculpt mode, we can start pulling stuff into the right position. So the main tool for this is the grab tool down here. And now you can start lining stuff up a bit better. In sculpt mode, it will mirror what you do onto the other side. So if I am to pull this leg out, as you see on the other side, it will mirror that exact grab or whatever. And this applies to every tool in here. So don't worry about doing it on both sides. So if I want to move this foot up, I just go grab tool, make it big, and we can move the foot up and it moves up on the other side. This is just a lot of just like trial and error to see what works and what doesn't, and just like lining up. One tip with shoes though is the way LS works with feet is it's kind of weird and your shoes can get squished. So that might be a little bit difficult to understand at first. But the bottom of the shoe, you usually want a little bit underneath the LS foot. Because shoes are supposed to be bigger anyways than the feet. But I would say maybe around here might be good. So you usually want the bottom of the shoes to be around here, I guess. Make sure knees line up. Knees are pretty important. If your legs aren't thick enough for the LS model, you can go over and start inflating them, although don't do it too much or you get this happening. So you might want to lower the strength and slowly do it. But yeah, as you see, if you go over parts that you haven't merged yet, it will start breaking. So if this happens, just Control Z and then go into your edit mode, and you want to start selecting everything here. And you want to merge after. So this can usually be a bit time consuming, especially with everything that's going on here. This should be fine. Yeah, so 160 removed. This shouldn't break anymore if you start sculpting. So let's go to C. And yeah, if you inflate it doesn't break, but it does get really bloated and it looks strange. So be easy on the inflate tool. But it is a really good tool for making the legs a bit thicker or something to match up. So yeah, that belt broke, so I'll undo that. And yeah, that should be all you need to know for this. Here is a small tip for when you're trying to merge the meshes. So say you want to say all these are disconnected, right? You can't select the back part here. I mean, you can, but let's say you can't, okay? So what you want to do is select this bag and press H and it will hide the bag. And now that bag is basically gone for now. And you can select whatever's here. So now that we have this selected, let's get this too. Like that. So now we can merge this. Let's do the other side too as well. We have everything. Yeah, okay, merge this one. Do belt buckle. Okay, merge this. Okay, and now if you want to show the bag again, you just do Alt H and it reappears. And yeah. So I'm going to cut to working on the arms next. So basically you should have enough knowledge to work on the lower body, and you should know you want the knees, where the knees are on the human body. You want the legs usually as thick as the human body as well. If you don't do it as thick, usually it gets all squished in game. And yeah, so you work your way on the legs. If you need to pull down hips or anything, you should know that in sculpt mode, you just go to the grab tool and you can pull them down. Right here, grab that, pull it down a bit. You don't have to pull it down too far, but you do want them pretty close. Might need to pull the whole thing down a bit. And yeah, that's pretty close. So I will cover the upper body next. Okay, so now that we should have the lower body done, we can now begin to work on the upper body. So as we did before, we separated the hat from the head. We now have to separate the hands from the arms, because as you can see, the human body doesn't have hands. Also, the hands are clipping in there right now, so we should remove them anyways. So let's go and select the gloves here. Let's go face mode. Face mode is easier for this. Make sure you select everything. You can go into wireframe and make sure you did. So this whole hand should be selected now. And now let's do the other hand too. Okay. Sure it's all selected. Okay, now that both hands are selected, we can go to mesh, and like we did before, separate by selection. And now let's change this to hand, and we can hide it. Okay, so let's go material preview. And now we can start lining up the arms correctly. So let's open human body. So let's go back to sculpt mode. And if you have something like this cuff here, you could just go and delete the arm and then use the human body arm, which I might actually do because it would be a lot easier. But just for the sake of example, if that is not your case, you should be familiar by now with the grab tool. And what you do, so let's say this is the end of our arm, and we want it to come here. So let's forget about this part right here. What we can do is we can go and we can grab this, and as you see, that's too big because it started grabbing the body. So you can go and grab the arm and slowly start snaking it out to the edge. And just for example purposes, I'll show you how far you want to go. So it's going to get messy here. This is going to be really bad, but you want to go straight to the edge. And that would be how you approach that situation. Another thing is that you may notice on the human body that they have really big forearms for no reason. And you do want to match your model up with that. It's really hard to show on this model because it does have the cuff, but let's drag this out. So this would be way too thin for this forearm. So what you would want to do is you would want to go to layout, and you'd want to select these and obviously merge them, right? So merge by distance. I'm not going to do this because I'm going to show you what happens if you don't do this on the arm. Hopefully this will be a good example. But if you do not do that, and you go to inflate the arm, as I've talked about before, it goes and breaks, and it can break here too at the bottom, which is really annoying. Sometimes it will just break all together and it will be like shards of an arm and you have to like piece it together. If you do find your model with this, what you can do is you can go here, and you can go to vertice mode, and you can click the two vertices, press M, and merge at center if you want to do it manually. But I'm not going to deal with this at all. I'm going to undo everything here, and I am just going to go to edit mode and delete these because I don't feel the need to work with these. Alright, so these are gone, and I will be using the human body arm instead because I feel like that will work way better. So again, we go to sculpting, and we want to make sure everything lines up. So I'm pretty happy with everything here. The only thing is this front portion here with the shoulders. So I will be going to the grab tool and moving that forward a little bit, not too much. It doesn't have to be exact, but the better it is covering this, and you want to make sure it looks normal too. But the better it is covering this, the less like weird the model will look in game. But you don't want to go too far out. So if I pull that out, it's not going to look good in game, unfortunately, for people like Pokey. So let's just pull out just a bit so it kind of matches. The back isn't too big of an issue. I think this right here is good. So this should be good enough. This is kind of what you want your model to be matching up like. So yeah, that's basically that. If you have questions about the arm and stuff, again, just at me or something. It's pretty straightforward though. You just want to extend the arm out, make sure it matches with the end, because at the end we have to put hands on, right? So you want to make sure it matches up with the wrist. Okay, so now that we're basically finished the actual model part, for my sake, in this model, since I used the human body arm and the human body neck, we now have to merge these two files together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit the human body. So we go to edit mode, and I'm going to delete let's see, so I'll go wireframe. I'm going to delete everything past here. Do that on the other arm too. Selected too much. By the way, with the C brush, I probably should have mentioned this earlier, but to select something, you left click, and to deselect something, you middle mouse. And for some reason that doesn't show up down there, but yeah, that is how that brush works. And that's how basically every selection thing works too. Okay, so let's now work our way onto the body. We don't need anything with the legs or the feet, so we can just go big selection and select all that. But we do need the neck. So let's finish selecting here. Okay, so this might be a little bit tricky because it's in a wireframe mode. If you need to, you can go back to this mode and then hide the model you're working with. Usually I like keeping the collar part around here when I keep the neck. So I'll have it like that, and then I will delete, well, don't delete vertices for this, delete faces. There you go. And let's go back to this. And as you can see, there's no more clipping because that model does not exist anymore. So now we can go to sculpting, and we can start using the grab tool, pretty small, and we can grab the neck in, and there we go. Now we have a normal neck, and we have our arms. So yeah, and now what we want to do is we want to select the model that we want, and then make sure this is in object mode. You want to select the model you want, and then the other model you want, and then Control J, and they will combine. So now we can rename this back to, let's do this. So now this is all one. So if I press on this, it's all one. Okay, so now the model is actually done. There's nothing more we really want to do to the actual model part. But now we have to work on materials. So let's select the mesh here and go to the material properties down here. So all of these materials have been preloaded by this PMX. If you don't have materials, well, it'll just be white. So what you want to do is new material, and you want to now make the texture file. So you want to grab this, copy it just for the sake of it, and then rename it. So now we have the PNG here, and we can go into base color here, click the little circle, image texture, and we can open the image we just changed right here, or created. Open this image, and it should load all properly here. But now every part that has skin, we can make a new material for. I will name this material skin. It doesn't matter what you do here. It doesn't matter for this one either, but just for the sake of seeing the texture in Blender, that you want to do the image. For this one, we can just set base color to like black or something for now. So there's two ways you can go about doing skin in Blender, or in general, I guess. But this should be easy enough on this model that we can just select every part that has skin. So we can go over and do this. Because this model is pretty easy on the skin. Make sure you don't select anything random. Bag got in the way. So okay, I'll fix this soon, but I'll show you right now that what you do to assign the skin is you literally just press assign, and as you see now it's all black like our skin material here. So basically what you want to do is go around selecting everything that has skin and changing it to the skin material. Hide that, and now we can finish selecting it. Assign. So this is all skin now. Let's go and hide this. Reassign this, and there we go. We have the skin there. We can do arms and neck real quick. Assign. So now those are skin. Oh, that was pretty easy. So now this is skin. If your model is not this easy, because this is probably the easiest model I've done for skin actually, just at me, because I'll have to make a separate little like help thing for that. Because what you might need to do is take out the knife tool, which is K, and then outline everything. Or you'd have to make a brand new texture file that is transparent. And yeah, it's a lot to explain. So if you need help with that, at me on that. But yeah, basically we have the regular texture here, and we have the skin now. So to make this now work in game, you would need a material file. So I'll go from, I should have one in here. Do I have one? I do not have one. So I will go into this and I will make a new one. Should have it on my desktop here, and we go here. So I will drop this material file into the staff chat too. Where is it here? So this material file, basically, what's the word? It codes for these two materials here basically, and what texture they apply to. So here's one material that codes for the texture, so this material. So we can go here in our thing. So ours is called Amber Armor. So we can change this to Amber Armor. Amber Armor. And then item body HW. This is basically naked texture, so it's just transparent. So this is your skin right here, basically. Just Amber. These material files are a little bit tricky, so you may need extra help figuring them out. You may not. I'll literally drop it in there right now as a example. Example material file. Okay, and this should be all you need to code for skin, this file. So if you were to do your own model that had skin, and it only has 2 material files needed right here, you can just go in here and replace the texture. I wouldn't recommend replacing this one unless you made your own transparent texture, which also means you can add tattoos and stuff if you make your own. It would literally just be a transparent texture with tattoos on it. So now that that is all done, this model right here is good to go. So what you want to do when you export it, let's save this. Actually, we can go here, save it. Amber, just put ls at the end, sure. So now when we want to export this, we need to delete everything in here. So just delete it. Do not delete. Do not delete. Okay, delete. Okay. So now all that's deleted, and all you have to do is export obj. I call it Amber Armor. Done. So that is that. This is done. So that is literally all you need to do for one mesh file, and it is now good to go to send to Ayato Seasons to transfer it into a mesh file, basically. Yeah. So now if you want to get the hat and hands in, this gets a bit more complicated for the hands at least. The hat is pretty simple. So let's do the hat first. Basically all you need to do is line it up with this head. So let's go click that, hold it, scale up, move it up. Keeping mind of the hair in LS. so you might want it a bit above the head. But this should be fine. It is a bit big though. Might scale it down a bit more, move it down. But this right here should be fine for a like headband type thing. So now I can go and delete. Oh, but it still has materials. Make sure it doesn't have the materials anymore. Because that will mess up the material file. We can just reuse that same texture we made earlier for the armor. It should work. Yeah. And now we can delete. We can delete this and that, and then export it as Amber hat. So that is done now. So we have the hat, and we can Control Z all this back. Now hands are pretty tricky sometimes. So there's going to be some new techniques in this. So let's go ahead and delete all of the materials, create our new one, image texture. This might be fine again. Let's see. Yeah, so that texture is fine. You may have to make new textures if it doesn't work. But yeah, this is fine. So now we can go into edit mode, and we can just delete a hand entirely. And we can go over to modifiers over here. In modifiers, we put the mirror modifier, and now that hand's back. So now we can freely move this hand, and the other one follows like a mirror. So now we want to match up the hands with these hands. So let's select these, move them out. If you don't want to do all this, you don't have to. You can use some other character's hands from LS already, or you can use these default ones. But just for the sake of showing, I will do it. Rotate these way. I'll move them there. Move them a bit back. Now you can probably see how this gets hard, because you want to try and line up the thumbs and the fingers, or you're gonna have a lot of weird animations in game, and it won't look too good. So let's go and show the armor here. We're gonna have to scale this up, move it down a bit here, rotate it. So now the hands are like really big, so now we have to go to sculpting and try to start fixing them, which can be a pain. So we can try and move those back, might hide the hands a bit. Yeah, you can see how it might not be worth doing this. But if you really want the hands from your model, this is what you have to go through to get them working. I don't like that, so I'll just pull it. You want to make sure that for the hands, they actually do go, if you have a glove like this, it does go above the actual arm, or it will clip. So that should be good there. We can try and rotate this thumb maybe with the rotate tool. Not sure how well this will work. That doesn't look good. find the right angle. Maybe right here. Yeah, it's a bit better. And then we can grab that and move it down. That should be a bit better for the thumb, maybe. Let's see. Other hand. Yeah, we can move that a bit upwards and inwards. Maybe move these fingers down a bit and that one up. Yeah, I don't recommend doing this, but as I said, if you really want a hand model, yeah, it might not look too good, but it will be there at least. So yeah, this should be good enough, as it does match up with the hand. So now that you're done all this, like all the rest, you can go and delete everything else. But now, since you have this modifier, you have to go to object mode and apply it. And now you can export. And there we go. That is 3 models done for this. I'm going to Control Z, so I have everything here. Go and apply this model again. Remove this. And yeah, there we go. The full model is now done. Obviously, if you want to make this like a trinket or something, you could separate that and do that. You don't have to. Same as the hat and the gloves. But for each mesh file, you do need its own material file. So I'll need a material file for the hand and the hat. And yeah, those are pretty basic. I don't think I'll need to explain those. It's basically the same thing again. So yeah, that is basically it. One other thing you may need is to convert the PNGs. Convert the PNGs into a DDS file, which there are online converters for that, and you guys should know about that by now as well. So yeah, if you need anything else, don't be afraid to at me about it. Yeah, there we go.